All right, guys. Today we've got Randy with us, and Randy started working with us about like 4 or 5 months ago, maybe even less. But man, he's got an awesome story. I'm really excited. He was just talking beforehand. I was like, yo, we need to push record because you're dropping gold right now. I'm really excited to bring him on here. When we first started working together, or previously, he was doing between like 8 to 12K a month. And last month just hit 84K cash collected. $84,000. And you just told me that before this, and I was like, what? So, man, I'm excited because I want Randy to share just like his story of like why he got into this story throughout, just like fitness coaching in general, how he got to where he is now, and what he's currently doing to grow so fast. Randy, dude, thank you so much for being here, man.
Yeah, good to see you.
All right, man, let's kick this thing off. Tell everybody here how you got into coaching because you're online fitness coach right now. But before you owned up some brick and mortar stuff, so walk us through that whole journey for you.
Yeah, so I mean, growing up, I wasn't really into fitness or anything like that. I had done some sports as a kid, like baseball and stuff like that, little league, those sorts of things. But I was always kind of like this like tall, lanky, awkward kid. I'm 6'5" and I was like 170 when I first started working out. So just kind of like a string bean. And then when I joined the military, I joined the Marine Corps in 2007 after graduating high school. I got into fitness, right? Because all the high testosterone kind of guys there, right? And like everyone kind of pushed me to go to the gym. And so started going to the gym, had some success, really fell in love with it. And then after I got out of the military, I decided that that's the direction I wanted to take my professional life. And so I started working as a personal trainer, just doing in-person stuff, kind of working at like a big box gym where, the client pays $50 an hour and I see 15 of it. And, shortly realized that that wasn't like a sustainable way to make a living. Eventually, I sort of found myself in a very like fortuitous position to buy a brick and mortar gym, basically kind of like a lease to own sort of thing, because I was friends with the owner and he was trying to get out of the gym industry and his gym wasn't doing well. So I kind of like was able to purchase this gym that was a little bit underwater, more or less for free. But obviously it was kind of like a liability because I was taking on like a lease and stuff like that, which, all this stuff that's like a limitation of owning like an in-person kind of place, right? And so I was able to kind of turn that place around. It started making some profit. But I got to the point again where I was like kind of burnt out on it. There was just a lot that went into like managing employees and an actual building and, dealing with, memberships and stuff like that. And I was living in San Diego at the time, which is where I'm from. And I had decided that I wanted to kind of like try out different places. And so I kind of just made this bold move and I sold the gym after saving up a little bit of cash reserves, like not a lot, maybe $10,000 or something in my bank. And I decided that I was going to go into this online coaching thing. This was probably 2019. And so my initial strategy for this was I was going to reach out to people that I knew who were in like sort of like fitness adjacent hobbies. And I was going to train them in exchange for them giving me a little bit of exposure on their Instagram stories. So I would train people who were like into other stuff, but also into fitness, because I realized that in fitness, you have to like niche down, right? Because like, hey, I'm like in pretty decent shape, but I'm not the biggest guy out there. I'm not the best looking dude out there. I realized like I didn't want to get lost in that sea of trainers online, right? And so I started working with people like in very specific populations that I was also interested in, like just hobbies I was into, competitive shooting sports and things like that. So through doing that and through getting those shares, I was able to build up a little bit of momentum. And it got to the point where I got enough clients that I was making about like $8,000 to $10,000 a month, which was awesome. But the problem was I was doing it in a very unsustainable way. And so first of all, I had no real method of acquiring clients. It was all kind of just luck. And like, flexing on the camera and hoping people signed up, which is, why
Jack,
it was.
so I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it
that
helped, right? So, and I spoke the language of like my niche, right? So like that definitely helped, like kind of having that like personal connection with people that were like me. But it became unsustainable because I got, it sounds like a lot of money, but I was only charging 187 a month, which I thought at the time was a lot of money. But, to make enough revenue to survive and to thrive, I had to take on so many clients that the delivery aspect, the client load, the burden was so massive that I started to get really, really burnt out on it. Also, I was constantly just sort of dealing with market fluctuations. I had no idea how to deal with like price point objections. I was literally just like selling training through Instagram. Like I didn't even do calls with people. It was just like totally amateur hour, right? So eventually I got to the point where I was like, hey, this isn't like sustainable because I have a wife, I have 2 kids, and I need to like secure their future, right? And like this whole like hoping that people sign up with me thing isn't going to work when I've got like people relying on me to make money. It was fine when I was single and I was just like, driving around the country, living out of my truck. But now I was like, okay, hey, it's time to like get health insurance and retirement and kind of all this whole like pension economy kind of idea of not being an entrepreneur and like getting a real job And then there was a lot of pressure too from my parents because they grew up in that generation where like, hey, you graduate high school, you get a job, you get a pension, and you work that job and you shut up and then you retire and whatever, which never really sat well with me. But they kind of reinforced that anxiety of that, like I needed that stability, right? So, anyways, long story short, I have a friend out here in Arizona who's a firefighter, and I did a couple ride-alongs with him, and I was super sold on firefighting. And I was like, well, hey, this training thing, maybe I'll do this on the side, and I'll go be a firefighter. So I got hired by a fire department out here. Went really well. The interviews went well. Really enjoying the job. And about a year into it, I don't know, I must have just seen one of your ads on Instagram like 500 times.
Probably.
And I'll tell you, like your targeting is great, right? So there are a lot of ads that get shown to people who are in whatever niche, but like for fitness coaches, like through my Instagram feed, like every third thing is like an ad of how to be your own boss, how to run your own online fitness coaching business. And as just a regular guy, like it looks very, I don't know if scammy is the right word, but like, people promise you these big things. You're like, make $50,000 a month working 2 hours from the beach in Bali and this and that. And so like, I just never like paid attention to it, right? Cause I'm like, oh, it's nonsense. Something, I don't know what it was, man, but it must have been like the 50th time I saw you talking about this. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to fill out this lead form because like, what's the harm? Like maybe I sign this lead form and I get some newsletters I don't like and I'll unsubscribe, So I signed the lead form. I get prompted to like, I put in how much money I was making, which at the time was about $10,000 a month, which I know is a lot more than a lot of coaches are making at the start. And so probably your guys' filter, put me as a lead. And I got on a call. I did a call with Jared, right? Jared?
Yeah, Jared.
Yeah, so I did a call with Jared, and I actually we went through the whole thing. We were on the phone for like an hour, and I should probably apologize for him to this, but I sort of ghosted him after the first one, and he was probably mad about that. And then maybe like another month goes by and he like reached back out, and I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to take the leap. Like, look, he pitched the program to me and told me the cost and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, like it's probably not a great investment. I don't know if I'll make my money back and this and that, but I don't know what it was, man. I just had this like wild hair and it was telling me like, hey, just put this on a credit card and just see what happens. So I took a leap of faith and I signed up for Growth Accelerator. Jake was assigned as my coach. Met Jake, like super personable guy. Like I'm really glad they put me with him because we have the same like military background. We're kind of like very similar type, big tatted up kind of dudes, and just started going through the process. Yeah, started going through like, all the modules and stuff on school. Got my positioning, got my offer. And the first thing we really did, like that was going to, hopefully produce something like my launch was I boosted a carousel, like a follower funnel carousel. And the followers started flowing in and I just started DMing all the followers. And I had like my little script of like, how I talk to people and how I get them to book a 15-minute call. Like we had the Calendly, all the back end, all that kind of stuff set up. And I started getting leads and I started booking calls. And I had my little sales script thing and I started booking 60-minute Zoom calls. And then probably the first person that I got on a call with, I was super nervous for the first Zoom, right? Because I'm charging $187 a month. And I used to be nervous to tell people that it was $187 a month. I would do anything in the conversation to avoid the part where we got to money. Like I would be talking to somebody for like 45 minutes about like how the weather is and like how their dog is and what their dog's name is and what kind of food they feed their dog. And like anything to avoid the part where I have to tell them how much training costs. So eventually I get to this point and I'm like, yeah, so it's, it's $3,600 for the year. And then it's $2,350 for 6 months. And they were like, cool, let's do a year. And I was just like, what? I was like, what? Like I almost didn't believe it, And they're like, yeah, let's do it, man. Like, I think this is going to be awesome. Like, I really believe in you as a coach and everything you said was cool. And I was like, okay, are you sure? Like, and so I signed my first client, and that was the moment where I was like, hey, like I can do this. Like I can sell high ticket coaching. And the amount of confidence that I built immediately from that first sale, from then on, every sales call that I got on, I was super, super confident about like what I was selling. And I already knew that I could change people's lives because I had been doing it for $187 a month for years. And I had all these testimonials and stuff. And like, I really believe in the service that I provide. And I think it's very unique, which we can talk about in a minute. But I already had that. Like I knew that I wasn't like selling them some BS they didn't need, right? So I didn't ever feel like guilty or anything like that. I just don't like talking about money because I'm a fitness guy. I like talking about fitness, right? So the sales aspect was difficult for me. But then when I realized like, hey, something is literally just worth what the market perceives it's worth. Like a diamond is only worth what a diamond's worth because of how we perceive it. Like if you didn't know what a diamond was, you'd be like, that's a stupid rock. I wouldn't give you a penny for that. Right. So once I realized like, hey, I just have to literally show people how much I can help them and what I can do for them. and how good they can feel, then I was like, yeah, like then I just grew that confidence after that first sale. And from then on, it was smooth sailing and I was never nervous on a call again. And like I would drop the price and like people would have that, I think they would feel that confidence from me. And so it was like I would encounter much less sales resistance. And of course, like, getting started, like you lose some, you win some kind of thing. And I've gotten more skilled as time goes on. And that first month, I got to 20K in the first month of collected revenue, which was like life-changing money to me. But I was still kind of nervous that it was a fluke. Okay. So I was dealing with this imposter syndrome where I was like, well, like, I had some success. It's probably not going to happen again. You guys sent me that $20,000 trophy I have put up on my shelf over there.
Dude, I don't have a photo of it yet. I want to see a photo.
Yeah, I know. I gotta take another one. But but anyways, I still didn't quit my job because I was like, well, hey, as a firefighter, we don't make a lot of money. Like after taxes and all that, like retirement stuff come out, my take home pay as a fireman, believe it or not, was like $3,000 a month. And I was like, well, I just made $20,000 a month selling coaching, and that's like I'm making like 5 times my salary. But I'm like, but hey, like, what if next month isn't as good, right? Next month I made 30K. I'm like, okay, well. Next month, it's probably, hey, next month it's going to fall apart, dude. No one's going to want to talk to me. No one's going to sign up. Next month, I did 50K. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, but seriously. And then eventually I talked to one of my friends, and my friend was like, dude, he's like, you need to like wake up. Like if nobody just like stumbles and falls upon $50,000.
Yeah.
And
No.
I was like, okay, fine. All right. And so I put in my resignation at the fire department, and it was very nerve wracking for me. Of course, like my parents were like, what are you doing? You're crazy. You have a family. How are you going to give up this retirement stuff? And I was like, you know what? Like there are some points in life where you just need to take that leap and like believe in yourself and make something happen. Right. Because like there are people who will just like never do that, and they'll always limit themselves. And not that that's a bad thing. Like there are a lot of people who don't have a lot of like financial or like lifestyle aspirations, and they want to exchange time for money, and they have like this employee mindset. For me, I have the mindset of I want to exchange value for money, because I know that, hey, the better I do, the more money I make. And it's like this instant feedback. So like I would go on my morning walk and I would get all these ideas, like stuff that I learned on Growth Accelerator, stuff I talked to Jake about. I was like, hey, I'm going to try this today. And then I would come back in the house and I would try, and hours later, it would manifest as like multiple sales. And it was just like the coolest feeling, because like as an employee, it's like no matter how hard I worked, I still made the same amount of money.
Yeah.
And I hated that feeling. And I was like, I want it to be more of a game. Like I want it to be more like, hey, the better I do, the more problems I solve, the more money I make, because that's infinitely scalable, right? So anyways, long story short, I think that I did like 70K. And then this month we closed out on the 31st at $84,000 collected revenue. And let me tell you this, Matt, I only have 4,000 Instagram followers. So my content is terrible, admittedly. Like I have very little content creation skill. I'm not natural on camera. I all my videos are like low resolution. Like this is the aspect that I'm tackling now. But I figure if I can make $84,000 with iPhone footage and, very little like followers and very little exposure and frankly not that great engagement on Instagram, then what's going to happen once I actually get my content down? So the next step was like Jake and I, going back a couple months, maybe a month, Jake and I were like, hey, let's start running these DM ads. So then I started building up the DM ad thing, and filmed like my free training and those sorts of things, ran that, and then boom, that was that month that I hit 84K. And I'm like, man, like this is working. And like I said, I resigned from the fire department. All these people were like giving me pushback, and like, no one's going to believe in you except you, right? And so everybody was like, oh, you're crazy. What are you doing? This is secure. What you're doing isn't secure. And I was like, I had to tune all that out because it was creating self-doubt in myself. So I had to just like basically stop telling people what I was doing, and like, stop telling my parents what I was doing, and just start believing myself, right? And I realized like the more that I did that, the better my results got, the less doubts I had in my head. And I mean, now I've got to the point where, hey, I made $84,000 last month. I don't have any lifestyle creep. Like I didn't go out and buy a car or anything like that or do anything crazy. I was like, let's keep all this money in the bank so I have this buffer. And that really helped me not have that fear of like, if we have a bad month, right? Because now it's like, hey, if I have a bad month because I'm beta testing a new strategy, it's not a big deal because I have all this money in a buffer. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like I said, I've been in the Growth Accelerator for, since April, and it's now August. And I'm nearing the end of the curriculum. Hopefully I'm, planning on sticking around and sticking around with you guys. And I know you guys have like a symposium or a retreat type thing coming up that I'd love to go to. But yeah, so it's been a whirlwind. I've had to sort of like, it's like the Big Bang, right? So all this stuff happens at once. Like it's like everything's exploding, and I've got content creation, and I've got sales calls, and I've got delivery, and I've got DMs and all this and that. And so right now I'm at this stage where I'm trying to, I've been doing some hiring. Like I've got a couple coaches that are working for me. I've got a videographer now. And so now I'm trying to take all this like raw matter and make like systems and like get everything like chilled out so I can like have some time to do things other than sales calls and delivery and stuff. But yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. So just kind of systematizing everything now and making things like more sustainable in the long run. Because yes, I'm having a lot of success and making a lot of money, and like I get up super pumped to do my work in the morning. It doesn't require any effort from me because it's so much fun and I'm seeing the benefit. But I do realize that there is going to be a point where I need to be able to like take a little bit of a step back and like get a VA and like have somebody helping me with posting content and all those sorts of things. So I'm at that stage now. I think one thing that really holds a lot of new business owners back is they're scared to hire help because one, it costs money and they don't want to see their bottom line go down. And then two, they're afraid that somebody isn't going to be able to do the job as well as them. Okay. So, but what I realized was like, hey, okay, if I'm spending like 6 hours a week doing X task, but I outsource that task for, let's say, $500 or something, that's going to free up that 6 hours, which I can then use to make $5,000. So I think a lot of people are thinking so short term. They don't think of like, spending some money as an investment in the time that they'll receive back, and then they can transform that time into revenue by doing more like the big picture stuff. And so that was a big realization for me. And that's sort of the spot I'm at now where like, that was like the thing with Growth Accelerator, right? Like, yeah, it's upfront money, but dude, I made all that money back like immediately and then some. So now I've got like a videographer and I've got coaches working for me, and I'm working on getting a VA and all these sorts of things. And I have no qualms with paying people to do this stuff because, the return on the investment is going to be much higher than the initial cost. So that's a lot. Sorry, I was just like ranting, dude, but
Oh,
that's
great,
where
man.
that's where it started, and that's where we are.
No, that's great. That was exactly what we were talking about before you started. I was like, stop. We must push record. No, it's just super like you dropped a lot there. Like yeah, and the safety element of it. I wanted to kind of hit on that because yes, like owning your own business, there is more risk involved, and that's kind of what draws people like us to it. And it's a game. Like I like how you said it's a game. Like for me, it is like, all right, what's the new ad I can create that's gonna beat my control, right? So it's kind of like this test. Oh, that didn't work. Let me try another one. All right, now that ads are going, let's see what I can do in content wise. Like it's just kind of a game and a bunch of problem solving. Like for me, I was a physical therapist. Like I would do the same thing every day, and I wouldn't really enjoy that. Like that wouldn't have been fun for me. But like there's always new problems to solve being a business owner. And a lot of people aren't cut out to be business owners, and they'll just project that onto you. So that
Right.
feeling of safety. Some people would rather have safety and make 3 to 5K a month after taxes, versus like have big influxes and some months that are slower. But also, as business owners, if we do have big influxes, we then learn how do we reinvest some of these profits, yeah, into the business, but also into other personal assets. So like if you made 84K, let's just say that your profit was 40, 50K. I don't know exactly what it was, but man, even if you put 10 or 20K of that aside into a high yield savings account, something that's super safe for an investment standpoint, that's probably more money than you would have like put aside an entire year, doing what you were doing. So it's like in a month, you've made more even from an investment standpoint, as long as you manage your money well that comes in.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's huge. Like the just touching on that gamification sort of aspect. So that's also something that I sort of apply to my training with my clients, right? So what I do is kind of like more of a, like I said, like a high touch sort of service. So I don't deliver like pre-made programs to my clients. So all of my clients, I deliver their training to them a week at a time. So my clients are what I call high performing men, and my slogan is like I turn high performing men into human weapons. Okay, so
Dude,
the
that
idea
is
is that
strong tagline. We'll
yeah,
love
it's
that.
cool. It's cool. And
Yeah.
so I call it the human weapon system. And so I'm trying to create an athlete that is like equal parts like big, strong, and fast with the physique to back it up and like that command presence. And so I want my clients to be able to lift like somebody twice their size and move like somebody half their size. And so that's sort of like the athlete that I'm working with, right? And the way that I do that is I train them like an athlete. And so the reason that I started doing things this way is because when I was in college, I did an internship in the college weight room, and I was working with these athletes who were, rugby players, football players, baseball players. And when these guys would show up to the gym to train, the trainer would tell them exactly what exercise, how many reps, how many sets, and the exact specific weight they were using for everything. And when I would go to like the regular gym or like even in my own training, I was like, oh, I was just doing this like generic program and it's like 3 sets of 12 or whatever. And I wasn't making great progress doing that, but these athletes in the weight room were just making this like astronomical progress. And I realized that it was because your body is like this adaptation system, right? And you have to provide your body the right stimulus to create the right adaptation. And so the more specific you can get and the more dialed in you can get your training to exactly what you need on that specific day, like the more precise you can get it, the more results you get. Like you can continue like this sort of linear progress. And so that's kind of like my secret sauce. And what's great about this is that it's really great for retention because it gamifies things for the client. So the client can see, hey, last week I did 6 reps of this thing. This week I did 7. And so it's like, hey, I beat level 1 and now I'm on level 2. As opposed to like when you go to the gym and you get good progress for 6 months and you kind of spin your wheels, it's like if you're playing a video game and you're always stuck on level 1, eventually you're going to put the game away, which is like what most people do with the gym. Well, with my clients, because I'm monitoring everything they're doing and kind of have this bird's eye view, and I'm seeing these roadblocks and plateaus they might run into before it happens, I'm able to navigate their training around that so that they're constantly making progress. And so the client sees themselves beating level 1, beating level 2, beating level 3, and then we can reassess and like set some new goals once they hit the old ones. And so that's been huge for retention. And I think that's a really important aspect of like any endeavor is that gamification aspect where you need to like make sure that you're going to see progress so that you keep yourself like intrinsically motivated to keep doing it, because that's like how humans work, right? Like if you're constantly banging your head against the wall, you're just going to stop. And so it's very much the same way with fitness coaching or really any business endeavor. Is like if you run into a roadblock, like you can't just give up or keep doing what you're doing. You have to figure out, like you have to calm down, sit back, analyze what's not working, which Jake has been invaluable helping me like track my KPIs and track like my ad spend and all this kind of stuff, and then apply the tool to fix it. And then you see the benefit and it's like, okay, cool. Let's move on to the next step. And so that's sort of the way that I do things with my clients as well.
Love that. I'm curious, just touching client delivery here a little bit. So you're adjusting their programs every single week, right? So end of the week, do they have a check-in? What does that process look like to give you the inputs to make that adjustment?
Yeah, so it sounds like a lot, but I've been able to systemize it to the point where like I can handle a pretty hefty client load because I have everything, like I have my systems very streamlined, which took a while. So like I said, I'm not delivering things like with a spreadsheet where like I have to pour over numbers and do like all this manual work and stuff like that. I'd actually deliver my clients training in an app called True Coach, which I'm sure you know about True Coach. And in True Coach, I can see everything that clients ever done. I have like 3 screens here, and they log their training in the app every single week. And then yes, on Saturday they have like a subjective check-in. Okay, so like during the week with their training logs, it's all data, right? It's like, hey, I did this weight, this weight, this weight. At the end of the week, they kind of rate like how they're feeling, how their nutrition's going. They upload progress photos and all that kind of stuff. Well, on Sunday, I sit down and I go through their training log. I go through their check-ins. I kind of like triangulate all of that with like their diet and those sorts of things. And then I modify my plan for them for the next week based on that. So I've already built out like a template that then I kind of like assign to the client and customize. But based on the results they're getting, I make these like tiny modifications. Okay. So each client actually doesn't take that much time because I've already got all this training templated out for them. But then let's say I don't know, their bench press didn't go the way that they wanted to or the way that we expected that week. So next week all I have to do is just modify the bench press workout, but the rest of it was going good, so the rest of it can stay the same. And so I'm just making these like little tweaks week to week. I'm not like reinventing the wheel for them every week. So it makes the delivery aspect like really quick for me, but also really effective for the client because I'm just applying those tiny little fixes that make all the difference in their training. So yeah, that's kind of how it works. Like they log their training at the end of the week. I do all my data and then I give them their updates. But then also like they have access to me in the app and stuff like that. So they're bouncing questions off of me, but it really doesn't take as much time per client as you would imagine because everything is so like it's just like a well-oiled machine, you know?
Yeah, because when I was doing a lot of fitness coaching and strength and conditioning, I would always write things in a 4-week block. But there's pros and cons of that. Like when I was an athlete and I was a competitive weightlifter, I had my program given to me weekly because same thing. There was a lot more adjustments and being like, oh, I tweaked my back, or hey, my elbow feels a little weird. Can we do this? And I personally liked receiving it weekly. But then when I was programming, it was always easier for me to write blocks, right?
Right.
And when I did write those 4-week blocks, that time duration took me longer because I had to like kind of pre-plan out the phase and do all the stuff. But looking back at it, I do think if I was able to do things on a weekly basis, I think the client would have better buy-in, and I think too they'd see better results. And honestly, it probably would be easier than doing the 4 week blocks, because the 4 week blocks just took more time to like periodize out. Where if I just had like True Coach, it's super easy friendly to just copy all the cells, paste them down below, and then make small, tiny tweaks and adjustments. So
Yeah.
I like that model. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can make those blocks just based on like a prediction of how the client's training should go, like an ideal month of training, let's say, and then you just make little adjustments week to week, right? If like they tweak their back, then it's like I'll just go and I'll look at all the exercises that have like axial loading or might bother that back condition, modify those exercises, maybe give them like a little rehab protocol, and then boom, I'm on to the next person. So like I said, it's not like I have to like re-engineer everything every week. I've got it down to a way that like it's sustainable for me, and I can handle like a pretty decent client load. But obviously, it gets to the point where hey, then you have to like bring on another coach who can then also do delivery, which I'm very blessed. So my background is in initially I was a CrossFit competitor. So I competed at like a decently high level in 2013 with my assistant coach. His name is Keegan. And Keegan's parents actually invented CrossFit Kids. So he's like the original CrossFit kid. So he's got a very similar approach to training as me. We both competed in Olympic weightlifting together. We both competed in powerlifting together. And now we're both kind of like, I guess what you call like a hybrid type athlete. And so he's someone that I already really trusted with programming because he programs for me. And so it was really, really easy to bring him on because I knew the delivery would be consistent. Like he was going to train the clients how I would train the clients. And so it's, been a very, very smooth way, like a smooth transition. And yeah, I think that's huge, man. Another thing that I tell all of my potential clients is that even if you have all that knowledge, it helps so much having somebody else write your training for you because it takes all the guesswork out of it. And then you're not like kind of in your own ego with the blinders on and not like, oh, I saw this cool exercise on Instagram. Oh, I feel good today. I'm going to go way heavier than I should. I'm going to max out my snatch or something like that. It's like I have him programming for me. And so because he told me that I'm doing a snatch with 225 today, I'm not going to go do 230 and I'm not going to go do 220 because he told me, like, just knowing there's somebody on the other end expecting you to do something specific.
Yeah, for sure. You're going to do it. Yeah.
You're going to do it. Okay. Yeah. So since having him do that, my own training progress has been like astronomically better because, hey, like I said, it's not a knowledge thing for me. It's not like a motivation to go to the gym thing for me. It's just that I need somebody to like be accountable to. And that's another reason that I'm not like worried about, a lot of people talk about like, oh, aren't you worried about like being replaced by Chat GPT and all these sorts of things?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not because you can't hold yourself accountable to ChatGPT. ChatGPT is not going to reach out to you and say, hey, why did you not train this week? Hey, why did you skip on your diet this week? Because it's a computer, right?
Yeah.
But if it's a human that you respect and they say like, hey, this is what you need to eat, you're much more likely to do that. Not because like I'm going to yell at you or something like that, but just because there's like this little implied social pressure of like, hey, this guy's on a team with me. Like he wants to see me succeed and he put his time and energy into writing this. So like, I'm going to do it. So that's a huge, huge thing.
Yeah. No, dude, man. I feel like we could keep talking for a long time.
Yeah. Sorry. I know you've got a limited time slot.
Oh, this has been great, man. I'm feeling really, really inspired and like just like revved up right now. So your story is really powerful, and I know we only covered parts of it, but yeah, man, I think the reason that you're also doing as well as you are and having the speed of progress so much is that you're living the life that your clients want. And like you have the persona, like, you are the ideal character that they want to become. And I can feel that. Like I can definitely feel why people are attracted to want to work with you. So I think one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that you can have the best marketing message, you can have the best sales process, but if you're not living the lifestyle and you're not being that attractive character, it's really hard for you to attract the right people to you. And just on this call alone, I'm like, man, I might need to work with Randy. It just you have a really good presence. So, dude, keep doing what you're doing, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months. Like, just keep staying focused. That's the best piece of advice I can give you. Is like as you keep growing, you'll always have more opportunities. Oh, I could do this offer, or this person wants to collab with me, and it's just being like, staying focused. Because it's gotten you here and you're just getting started. And again, man, I'm stoked to see what you create in the next couple months.
Thank you, man. Yeah, and just like real quick, like kind of touching on what you said about like kind of living that lifestyle. I think that one thing that a lot of trainers that I talk to get wrapped up in is they focus so much specifically on the fitness aspect, and they don't realize that. And not to like toot my own horn, right? Like I'm not like the greatest person on earth or whatever. Like I'm human too, right? But your clients do need to see you as somewhat of a role model. Okay. So most of the time when people sign up with me, and I talk to them about like what motivated them to work with me specifically, it wasn't necessarily the fitness stuff. It was that there were other aspects of my life that I was displaying on my social media that they admired and that they want to emulate, like, like a disciplined, regimented sort of lifestyle, and just having like the mindset that they want, or like, I'll showcase like my family life or what I'm doing outside of the gym. And so I think a big thing that people don't show enough of is like their lifestyle or their mindset and like the way they approach life. And so like one piece of advice that I always give people is, hey, like even if you're a fitness coach, you need to make sure that you're like showcasing and showing people other aspects of your life that people want. Because just like, when we're doing our sales calls, it's like we're not really selling the fitness itself. We're selling what it's going to be like when you get there and how it's going to affect you personally. Because, a client might say, hey, I want to squat 315, but then it's okay, but like, why do you want to squat 315? Like, why not squat 275? Because like you're not in a competition. Like you don't make money doing squats. Like that's not your job. So like, why do you want to squat that? Right. So you really have to dig deeper and figure out like really what people want, right? Like they want the confidence. They want like all these like secondary or tertiary benefits that come from achieving their goals. And the goals are like the benchmarks in their training or the weight on the scale or whatever it is just the vehicle to get there. So that's something that I always kind of harp on with people is like, you really got to dig deeper and figure out what people's like deeper motivations are.
Love that, man. All right, let's wrap this thing up. How can people contact or connect with you? I mean, if I was watching this, I'd drop you a follow immediately. So how can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. It's just at High Risk Fitness HQ. That's HIGH Risk Fitness HQ. And pretty responsive to DMs. Love having conversations with people that are into fitness and stuff. And yeah, if they want to check me out, that's where I'm at. My YouTube is just High Risk Fitness, and that's just kind of getting off the ground. But yeah, definitely would be open to anyone reaching out.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, thank you again for being on here. And if you guys want to connect with Randy, hit him up on Instagram, and excited to see the YouTube channel come along too. All right.
Thanks, Matt.